What's up, sports maniacs? I'm Justin Walters, and this is All Sorts of Sports. And in today's episode, I'm going to go over all the games that are going to be played this coming weekend in the NFL playoffs. And then I'm also going to go, based on my prediction on who wins each game this weekend, I'm going to predict who will win the next game the following weekend, and ultimately, who do I think will win the Super Bowl this year. So, let's get started. And I'm going to start off this episode discussing the AFC playoff race. In game one, we have the Tennessee Titans against the New England Patriots. And my prediction for this game is that the New England Patriots cruise past the Tennessee Titans. Last week, the Titans squeezed past the Chiefs, winning 22-21. And what were the Patriots doing? Sitting at home, resting. The Titans will also be without their starting running back DeMarco Murray, so they're going to rely heavily on Marcus Mariota this game. Therefore, the Patriots will advance to the AFC Championship. Game 2 of the AFC playoffs, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I think that this is going to be a much more evenly matched game than the Titans-Patriots game, but I'm still taking the Steelers to win this one. The Jaguars have a tremendous defense, we can all agree on that, but the Steelers have Le'Veon Bell, and no matter how good your defense is, Le'Veon Bell is still going to get his touches, he's still going to get his yards. I also believe that with the weapons that the Steelers have at the wide receiver position, Big Ben is also going to be able to get his yards and his touchdowns as well. So that will bring us to an AFC Championship game between the Patriots and the Steelers. Now, the last time that these two teams met, it was actually in Pittsburgh, and the Patriots walked away with a win of 27-24. And this time around, the Steelers will actually be going to Foxborough to play the Patriots, and I just think that it is incredibly tough to win, to beat Tom Brady and Bill Belichick at home. So I am going to have to take the Patriots to win the AFC Championship game. Tom Brady is just too good, and he's going to put up big numbers against that Pittsburgh defense. So now over to the NFC. In game 1 of the NFC playoffs this weekend, we have the Eagles against the Falcons. And I'm just going to come right out and say it. The Falcons are going to win this game. Now, I love Philadelphia, and I really want to see them succeed. But without Carson Wentz, I just don't see it happening. Towards the end of their regular season, they just didn't look very good going up against some mediocre teams. So I gotta take the Falcons on this one. And then game 2 in the NFC is the Saints against the Vikings. Now, I think that this is going to be a great game. Two great teams, probably, in my opinion, the two best teams in the NFC. So I think ultimately this game is going to come down to who's healthier. Which team is more well-equipped with their best players and their actual team. That being said, I'm taking the Minnesota Vikings over the New Orleans Saints this weekend. Last week, the Saints had a brutal game against the Panthers. So brutal that they actually ended up losing their left guard to a broken fibula. And if there's one defensive line that you don't want to lose your starting lineman against, it's the Minnesota Vikings. And in order for the Saints to win this game, they're going to have a huge day running the ball. And when your offensive line is banged up and you're going against the best defense in the league, I just don't see it happening. So that brings us to the NFC Championship game, which would be between the Atlanta Falcons and the Minnesota Vikings in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I'm sticking with the Minnesota Vikings. Look, we've already seen this Vikings defense stop the high-powered offense of the Falcons, and there's no reason to question why they won't do it again. In order for the Falcons to actually win this game, they have to have another season breakout game from Julio Jones. And that is not going to happen with Xavier Rhodes all over him the entire game. Sorry, Julio, but Rhodes closed. So finally, that brings us to the Super Bowl matchup between the New England Patriots and the Minnesota Vikings in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Now, if Minnesota by chance does make the Super Bowl and gets to play it in their home stadium, it's still a little unclear on what will be done in order to make the stadium as neutral as possible. Because technically, the AFC team is supposed to be the home team this year. Does that mean that the Vikings will end up being placed in their visiting locker room? I don't know. There's a lot of balls still up in the air with this whole thing. Either way, playing at your home stadium is still going to benefit the Vikings. Now look, Tom Brady he's tremendous, all right? He's the GOAT. I'm not worried about Tom Brady having a bad game against the Vikings in the Super Bowl. What I am worried about is his receivers not being able to get open against this great Vikings secondary, and how long the offensive line can hold off the Vikings pass rush. Mike Zimmer is too good at stopping great NFL players with his different defensive schemes. Therefore, I am taking the Minnesota Vikings to win the Super Bowl this year. But as always, these are just my predictions and I want to know what you guys think. So in the comment section below, make sure you let me know what team you think is going to win this year's Super Bowl. And that's going to do it for today's episode of All Sorts of Sports. If you like what I'm doing here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, be sure to check the description. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram are all down there. Posting content continually on there. Also, be sure to check out our website, www.allsortsofsports.co. Become a subscriber to that list. You'll get notifications every time we post a new video on any one of our channels and a new article. And until next time, I'll catch you later.
I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul.